screen. What's this about?
One more moment.
No problem.
Okay, we are live. Sorry about that. Thanks.
No problem. Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the Town of Rocky Hill Planning and Zoning Commission Zoom remote meeting of February 17, 2021 to order. My name is Dimple Desai, Chairman of the Commission. Public speakers who have requested to speak during the public portion of the meeting or any of the proposals for Commission's action is already given Zoom remote meeting link to participate. IT staff will assist me in recognizing the public speaker as they are listed on the speakers list. Because we are in a Zoom remote meeting, I'm going to go over some guidelines that I would like everyone to strictly follow so that we have a complete record of our meeting. There will be a queue for speakers. Speakers will be recognized by IT staff. All the speakers are requested to keep themselves muted until they're needed to participate. Speak clearly, state your name and address for the record. You'll have 2 minutes to speak. Please monitor your time. These are very important steps as we participate remotely, so please respect these requests. At this time, I would like to introduce the commission members and the staff present for this meeting. On my left, as if we are sitting in the council chamber, is Victor Zarelli. He'll be seated. Commissioner Guy Dropo, he'll be seated. On my right, Commissioner Alan Mahose will be seated. Commissioner Ron Robbins will be seated. And Commissioner Nancy Brescia, that is an alternate. We also have Kim Ritchie, Town Planner, Eileen Knapp, Recording Secretary. For the benefit of commissioners, assume we are sitting in the council chamber. I'll start recognizing commissioners from left and go to the right for comments. To avoid multiple conversations at the same time, I'll recognize commissioner when it's their turn to speak. And that's it. Victor Zarelli, you want to start?
Okay, public hearing. A, special permit application, JMCT 13-4 LLC, doing business as Jersey Mike Subs. Kenneth A. Shanky proposed to convert a portion of former retail space, Dress Barn, to a restaurant use of 2456 square feet total with 20 to 24 seats for property located at 38 Town Line Road in a regional commercial zoning district ID 04-553.
Thank you. And I just for the record, I'm sorry, Commissioner Glico, I forgot to mention you, but you are present as an alternate. All right. So do we have the applicant here to present the application?
I am present.
All right. Do you want to go over your proposal?
Yes, yes, I appreciate it. I appreciate it, you guys and ladies. My name is Ken Shanky. I live at 30 Sunset Drive in Somers, Connecticut. Our offices are located at 492 Enfield Street in Enfield, Connecticut. A little bit about Jersey Mike's. Would be my third store in my franchise. I've got one in Manchester, Connecticut. Second one opened in November in Middletown, Connecticut, and Rocky Hill would be the third store. We have a fourth store in planning right now in development in Enfield, Connecticut as well. That being said, I guess a little background, we're just looking to do something, I guess, I don't know, I got 2 minutes, so I'll make it quick.
No, you have your time.
Okay, I
Yeah.
don't want to I've been known to make a long story short or a short story long, so I'll make sure to make it short. How's that? A little bit about Jersey Mike's. I'll only just say that the why as to why I've been involved with Jersey Mike's. I actually used to manage the AT&T Advertising Solutions down in Weathersfield sales office for probably 8 to 10 years. So I know the market very well, and the Silestine Highway. Been very involved with the community, obviously back when I was working with AT&T, and that truly was kind of the component that drew me to Jersey Mike's. And my, I won't say it, but my post career, based on my gray hair, I realized I didn't have much time left. So that being said, a perfect example, I guess it's kind of ironic. Today we actually delivered. We started at 3 o'clock this morning in Middletown and made 860 lunch boxes for the entire staff of the Manchester Hospital. And I'll only say that it's only a byproduct of just what we've done since day one. When COVID hit, we had to change our business model and how we brought our service to the community and also brought our service to our patrons. That being said, I'll just start with what we did with the community. We delivered 16 catering boxes every day for about 6 months, up until about November, to 7 area local hospitals around the state. And the truth of that is that was kind of the why we felt the need to give to support our local community. And in reality, today was a byproduct of that, where the local hospital wanted to give it back to us. And never with the intention of our staff we ever wanted anything back. It's just not how I'm made up, I guess, or my staff either. But that's kind of the component of how we address the change of society and change of where we are headed internally within our store, our operations, the way we manage it. Long story short, we have spacing all across the floor. There's places where people stand, they're numbered, social distancing. I have plexiglass up all around the counter space. Jersey Mike's, a lot of their business has changed to online. We do everything from DoorDash, Grubhub, Uber Eats. Jersey Mike's also has their own online app, which we also offer our own delivery service within a 6-mile radius of the location. So it's our business has changed. Obviously, the model has changed from quick service, where it was more sit down, to now where there's still, even though we're opened up for sit down, I don't offer any sit down service in either of my stores at this point until I think we're a little further down the road with the COVID pandemic. However, to that though, as our business has increased, I actually have a door monitor. Somebody actually monitors the door that directs traffic into the store for pickup and takeout. Nobody actually comes into the store for pickup. We actually bring in the sandwiches and the bags out, the bag actually sealed out to the customer, just from a health perspective. So we limit the amount of people in the store, and then we limit like the seating. To give an example, seating in Manchester is about 22 to 24, and I only allow 8 people in the store at a time to place an order. So the ask, I think the biggest ask is obviously changing the current site, which is Dress Barn, was prior to a food service. There is some extra work that'll have to be done, obviously, with electric, because it's a 200 amp. So we have to do some work to run that down to the panel and some other things of that nature. But I'm open for any questions you guys may have. This is my first of experience in a change of use permit, so I'm kind of all ears. I know parking is a concern within the plaza. I addressed that in my notes. From what I understand, the amount of spaces that we would use. I would say that using my Manchester store, we're probably the top 10 store in the country every week. So we have probably 3 times the volume of any other store. And I would anticipate this store would have some decent, above average volume, which most of New England stores do. Now, however, to that though is the parking. I would probably say the utilization of spaces within my current store is no more than probably 6 or 7 at a time. And that's just because the dynamic of the business has changed to more pickup and takeout. I hope that helps answers some questions. If not, I'm all ears, and I'll help see if I can help resolve any questions you guys may have.
Thank you, Ken. What I would recommend is, I believe you have the special criteria and the responses. So if you can, just for the record, just go through those.
Yeah.
Yep.
So on the first special criteria, it's the location of size of the site. If I'm reading that, following along, Mike, based on the current location inside, you want me to just read the responses? Is that okay, Dimple, or read through the question?
Yeah, that's fine. I think you can just look at, just highlight the topic. what
The topic,
is.
okay. Okay. So the first one that I've got on here is location and size of the site. And then obviously the intensity of the operation involved. I put in there based on the current location inside the plaza with other businesses, it would be consistent with current tenants for access, promoting the welfare of the town of Rocky Hill. I didn't see anything that would be different in that situation. Proposed use shall be of such location, size, and character in general will be in harmony with the appropriate orderly development of the district. So nothing outside of anything abnormal. Based on current location, this is not a new development. I had indicated just a change of use from the dress barn to a food service. So the space itself won't change in any way, shape, or form. It's just everything internally with what we do out internally. Obviously, the only other thing is just obviously signage on the exterior portion of the building. Design elements of the proposed development will be attractive, suitable in relation to the site and the characteristics, style of other buildings in the immediate area. Existing location space where change of use is not a developed site. So it's really, I don't know if you'd say it's not really a change of the character. It's still existing, the same existing space that's already there. Location, nature, height of buildings, walls, fences, again, that would be the same. Existing location with a request for Jersey Mike's signage through the permitting of the site on the exterior of the space. And I know that would be limited. Generally, most towns limit it by the size, the unit space and the like. Generally, we use, I'm a little different. I use the logo sign. If you've seen Jersey Mike's advertised, I put the logo sign out, and it's a 3-dimensional backlit halo sign. Proposed use or activity shall have no adverse effect on the neighboring area. Artificial lights, colored lights, anything of that nature, not applicable to Jersey Mike's locations. It's just all internal, nothing external would be changed. In cases where it's proposed to convert a structure designed or built originally for other uses, structure is adaptable for proposed use from the point of view from public health and safety. That is probably the change of the use to a food service, which would require changes for light grease trap usage from dishwashing. That's the addition of either a Big Dipper, which is something that we use internally, within our current locations around the state, or also in-ground Shire unit, which is something that I use in the Manchester store, which is just a small in-ground unit that captures and we clean it every quarter. We have no fried foods. We do have a grease dump barrel that we dump all of our grease in through our local grease disposal service, picks up all that extra grease that comes out of the water. And also, being that we do a lot of hot subs, we do capture all the grease and the shavings from the grill when we're chopping our sandwiches that is captured every night and put in that bucket as well from a health perspective. Suitable transportation conditions was the next item on there. Design, location, specific details of proposed use or activity shall not adversely affect the streets nor increase traffic congestion. I put the site should not adversely affect traffic based on its use or volume of patrons on any given day, with 20 to 24 seats. I've sat at the location many afternoons and many different days, watching traffic patterns, number of cars coming, turning left up the hill to Stop and Shop. Obviously, having worked in the market for a long time, I've got a good idea, not perfect, but idea of the traffic patterns and the flow of how it works on and off the highway, and along with coming up the hill there to Stop and Shop. Parking areas, that was the one I was addressing earlier. I'll kind of read my response. Again, I'm trying, call me a novice. I know you guys probably have a better understanding of that, how it works. I'll kind of read what I understood it as. So please feel free to correct me. Based on my understanding, the current parking for the plaza, Jersey Mike's would possibly add 27 spaces, which, from my understanding, there was already 215 allocated with all the Wooden Tap, Town Fair Tire, and liquor store, and everybody else that's located in there as well. Liquor store, Town Fair Tire require more spaces than currently being utilized at 65 combined spaces. And I received that information from, was Sam Johnson from VP. He's the VP of Property Management for the lease holder or the tenant of the space there. So my calculation for 27 spaces would be 10 spots for employees, which, if I understand it correctly, was 4 spots for every 1,000 square feet. And then using a 24-seat facility would be an additional 17 spaces based on 5 spaces per, plus 1 per every 2 seats, for a total of 27. That was what I had come up with there. Then I've got streets and other rights of ways will be of size, condition, capacity. I put not applicable based on existing location of plaza. Turn the page. Provisions for water supply, sewage disposal, stormwater drainage conform to accepted engineering practices. That does then tie back into the grease trap that would have to be added to this site. Stated with grease capture, other utilities are minimal, i.e. water sewer will comply to full architectural plans submitted to town for approval prior to any construction or anything that's done on the site. Proposed use or activity shall provide easy accessible for fire apparatus, police protection. Site will be accessible for all approved police and fire and police monitoring. We do set that up with, obviously, with sprinklers, fire, drop-down units and everything else, all connected to a monitor control system. So we're made aware of that in the plaza, I'm sure, as well. Appropriate consideration given to protection, preservation, enhancement of natural resources. I just put not, it's not a new construction, so it's not, but not applicable based on existing location of the plaza. Appropriate consideration given to the protection, preservation. Again, it said not applicable. It says an existing plaza. Did the same thing with the next one. Consideration given to the protection, preservation. There's nothing that we do that's, would be environmentally concerning, I guess. Long-term viability. Adequate provision has been made for sustained maintenance of the proposed development. It's an existing location. There's nothing changing except for obviously the existing location of the plaza, but with current traffic flow patterns to the plaza, along with the plaza up the hill through to Stop and Shop. Consistency with overall objectives. Proposed use or activity does not conflict with the purposes of regulations. I just put not applicable based on existing location of plaza. The next one was on conflict, achievement of goals and objectives and policies from the plan of conservation of development. I'm not aware of any issues relative to the town planning for conservation. I don't know that it would adversely affect any. I don't believe it would. We've never run into that in the past. Proposed activity addresses health, safety, welfare of the public, and immediate neighborhood in particular. That's one thing I really strive very highly in all my 2 stores I have currently, which is a really high standard of maintain the highest level of standards for health, safety, and welfare of its customers and the community. In particular, during these times, we've taken extra precautions, obviously through COVID, which I kind of alluded to a little bit earlier, just with distancing, spacing, no in-store dining, that type of thing. So I think I got most of it. Hopefully that got some of it covered. See if anyone has any questions, I guess.
All right, thank you. What I will do is go and see if we have any public comments on this public hearing. And I believe in the beginning, we heard there are no one in attendance in terms of public for this public hearing. So having none, I will go to the commission members. Commissioner Zarelli, you have any comments?
I have no questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Drapeau.
Unmute.
I was trying to find something to ask, but I couldn't. So good job on the presentation. No questions.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Aglico.
I do have a question. The last bullet point that you made here in reference to public safety.
Uh-huh.
When COVID started, one of the things that was put in place by the governor was 2 entrances, an entrance and an exit of getting into a restaurant or a facility. And you were showing one entrance. Is there any thought in putting in like an entrance and an exit?
I've never, I guess I need to look that up. So I apologize. I'm not aware of, in a restaurant, that could possibly be the case, but I'm not aware of that for a quick service restaurant. And maybe that's where my definition might be different. There is a lot of space in the layout. I'm just looking at it. Actually, you could actually, in the exit goes back to a back, egress goes to the back where those deliveries are made. If you can see, you guys have a copy of the plan, obviously there. I mean, I'm looking by the bathrooms. You could have an egress that goes to the back from the bathroom. I'm just not sure, never done that before, but I'm not opposed to looking into that.
Just Seppi, if I may.
Sure.
I know with sit-down restaurants that are open during the time of COVID, they're required to have a separate entrance and exit because you have to have access to the bathrooms. If there's going to be no seating, and I believe that's what Mr. Schenke did represent, there will be no seating. It's takeout during this time.
Yeah.
Then one way in, one way out is fine.
Okay.
That does bring up a question. We do shut our bathrooms down during COVID and do not allow the public to use it unless, of course, based on Governor Lamont's request, if you have seating, then you have to open up your bathrooms, and we don't have seating, so that might tie into what Kim was saying. That helps.
Right, thank you. I'll go to my right, Commissioner Morhos.
I don't have any questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Robbins?
Just a quick question about the spaces. You said you needed 27, there's 215,
Yep.
so there's short 17, so where it's, so one is the calculation incorrect? Do you need that many spaces? And that's more a question for our P and Z staff, but
Mhm.
if you do need 17 additional spaces above what exists, where would those go?
So in answer to that question, and that's kind of where I'd gotten the information from Town Fair Tire and the liquor store. They had allocated, I think it was 60, I've got it here. It was 65 spaces. And I would probably assume that some of those spaces would come from that aspect in that area there. Again, I'm not playing, I don't want to speak for you guys. I just would think that some of those spaces would probably come from that area. I know my parking, when I've been in the plaza, most of my employees are probably at night, are all high school students. So I do a lot with the town, with the high school, and hire a lot of high school students for work. And generally they're being dropped off until such time they work for a year or two, then they're buying their own cars. So I would say probably some of those parking spots for my employees could be down the side of Town Fair Tire, which are not customer accessible. Most customers aren't going to park there. When I've been in there, they're parking in front of Town Fair or down in that area. I don't believe, and that's kind of where I think in the beginning, I don't believe I use 6 to 7 spaces in Manchester, which is a very busy store. I actually have one space that's allocated just for Uber Eats and pickups. And it's not hardly ever, it's once they're there, they're in and they're gone within less than 5 minutes. So I think to answer the second question, I don't feel at any point in time, at any point, even when I had in-store dining, I ever utilized 27 spaces ever. I think it was probably 10 to 15. It would be the max of what I would ever utilize.
Okay, so that it kind of comes back to us whether to see that as compliant with the regulations about whether we need to grant an exception. The other question, and again, it looks at the cumulative business footprint as far as are all the other 215 spaces required spaces per the zoning regulations, or are there extras within those 215 so that the cumulative parking for the property is adequate? So Kim, that kind of just opens the bigger picture, but just a question about whether we have to approve it as an exemption to the regulation, or would this be within?
If you look at the property and you think of shared parking, keep in mind Town Fair Tire is a large square footage. I don't happen off the top of my head know what it is. However, it is typically done as either an emergency issue or a by appointment to actually get work done on your car. So typically you're dropping off your car, having work done, and the car is being worked on inside the building. It is an emergency purpose. You're dropping your car off outside, parking outside the building, then the car is being brought into the building. So if you look at shared parking that way and think of a plaza, and not all uses have the same hours, and I know I talked to Ken on the phone about this, you can see how it would actually work. You have one use that took over the remaining square footage of the dress barn use itself, and it's a salon. It's a hair salon that they rent chairs out to individuals, and that's by appointment only also. Not all chairs are rented. There's 30 chairs there. Not all chairs are rented at the same time. So once again, think shared parking. Granted, you have Wooden Tap. That's primarily a lunch and dinner crowd, as I assume Jersey Mike's is as well, but a different type of dinner crowd. You may be lingering longer at Wooden Tap than you would be at Jersey Mike's. So we as staff looked at this with respect to parking. We did not have an issue with this.
Okay, that's what I was getting at. All right, thank you. That's it.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Brescia? Commissioner Brescia?
Hi, I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yep. Yep.
Oh, good. Just wanted to make sure that in terms of the parking spaces, is there enough handicap spaces and enough lighting? Because that area is pretty dark over on that side.
I mean, from my perspective, I don't know what's existing in there currently. I don't think there are any handicap spaces in there currently, are there? Or there might be 2 or 3. I don't have on my plan that I can see that.
There are in fact handicap spots up against the building. Years ago, that building parking lot was redone. Handicap spaces are up against the building. The town is not obligated to have them redo the parking lot under ADA requirements now, should there be any differences. It's my understanding the last ADA update was 2010. They had an ADA update, I think this plan is maybe an older plan, but there were handicap spaces up against the building. And I think this plan that was submitted was just so you knew where the location of the unit was with respect to the shopping center as a whole. And that was the primary purpose of the site plan. But there's a travelway that shows in front of the building that has been modified with the sidewalk widened out up against the building, and handicap spaces are up primarily in the front of the building. In the vicinity, there's a package store and I believe it's at Edible Arrangements.
Yeah.
In that area, so you do have handicap spots in that area.
All right, further questions? Commissioner Brescia, you good?
I'm good, thanks.
All right, thank you. I don't have any further questions. Are there any other questions from any of the members?
I just have one question for staff.
Yeah.
Kim, Town Fair Tire has parking inside because they can bring vehicles in. Is that added to the parking spaces?
That isn't necessarily added to the spaces. I brought that up as an idea for shared parking. Typically, if you have an appointment, you're going to come in, you may park your car outside, but then when it's your turn to go in for your appointment, the car would be inside, thereby freeing up another space. Anytime I've been over in that plaza, the parking in the Town Fair Tire area in particular has been pretty much vacant. There's been a few employees that park primarily in the back along I-91. And then the people that have appointments are parked typically on the side along 91.
Okay, thank you.
All right, if no further questions, I would like to have a motion, please.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in
3 seconds.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. All right.
Second public hearing, fill permit. I'm sorry, second public hearing is a continued public hearing. fill permit application, Commercial Services Realty, proposing to deposit and grade 9,500 cubic yards of fill with a wall, drainage weirs, and erosion sedimentation controls for property located at 581 Cromwell Avenue in a C Commercial Zoning District ID 12-138. Revised plans and action report from Inland Wetlands and Watercourse Agency.
Thank you. I see Peter here.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
this was recessed pending the action from the Open Space and Conservation Commission, and they haven't acted. So I think we should keep this recessed until after their next meeting when they actually do take their action.
I concur with Alan.
You do
Agreed as
have
well.
to, just for the record, saying that the people are in the, available by Zoom. They were recessed for not only the wetlands action. Obviously, this commission cannot take action until wetlands does. The wetlands agency unfortunately had to recess their meeting unannounced at the last meeting and will be taken up at the March meeting. And also the submission of revised plans. So it's up to the commission what they wish to do this evening.
I think my opinion or preference would be to just wait and get all the modifications, any suggestions, changes, or whatever from the actual action from the open space people before we proceed on this.
all right.
I concur with Alan. It'd be a shame to have this presentation done 3 different times.
Exactly.
So can I
So I
have
would
a
move-
motion?
I would move that we recess this until final action is received from the Open Space and Conservation Commission.
Can I have a
Second.
second? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. So Peter, we'll see you, when wetlands take some action and see what, changes that might happen, to your plan. So,
Okay, we'll be
Keep our
ready.
eyes on the other people. They're on television.
All right,
uh,
we'll be ready. Thank you very much.
all right, thank you. Going to the item 3, public comment. This segment is for anyone in the public who like to address to the commission on topics or proposals not on the agenda. So is there anybody who like to address to the commission? Seeing none, I'll move on to item 4, the consent agenda.
Motion to adopt the consent agenda.
Can I
Second.
have a comment on the agenda? I believe,
Mr. Chairman, do we have to modify 5A since we didn't do anything on that tonight? I'm not sure.
We haven't gotten there yet.
Oh, sorry. You're right. My bad.
I think on the meeting minutes, I believe Commissioner DePaul was a regular member and not an alternate on the meeting minutes.
I think
Right.
that happened at the meeting, correct?
Also, Chairman, I think my name is spelled incorrect.
Yep. So we'll correct that. All right. So I think we had motion and we also had second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Motion passes. Moving on to item 5A.
So 5A, we are tabling for now because it doesn't exist. So we're going to 5B. Special permit application JMCT 13-4 LLC doing business as Jersey Mike Subs. Kenneth Shanky proposing to convert a portion of the former retail space Dress Barn to a restaurant use of 2456 square feet total with 20 to 24 seats for property located at 38 Town Line Road in a regional commercial zoning district ID 04-553.
Can I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve the special permit application, JMCT, DBA Jersey Mike's, with all staff comments.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? Any comments, discussion? Hearing none, I would like to, take the vote. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Abstention, no. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. And this was a clever
Congratulations.
advertisement. We got all,
I was gonna put free sub cards in there, but I wouldn't do that for you guys. Not yet.
That's it. No.
No, that would be bad. Remember, I work for AT&T. That would be very bad.
All right, good luck.
Well, thank you very much. I look forward to it very much. Thank you, you guys.
Thank you.
And thank you, Kim, too, for all your help.
Moving on to item 5C.
Agenda item C, site plan application, Muzzicato Family LLC, the sixth, I believe, yep, proposing a storage container area of 3,000 square feet to be located in the rear parking lot of property located at 366 Cromwell Avenue in a C commercial zoning district ID 08-357.
All right, do we have an applicant here to address?
Yes, I'm the applicant.
Go ahead.
I'm proposing a site plan modification to allow for a certain portion of the rear of the property for storage. The rear portion of the property lies in line with the dumpster pad along the road, the far north, the northeast corner. Our initial application, we modified for the notes or for the recommendations from the town planner as well. We shifted it away from the. There's actually a drainage easement that we weren't aware of. It was noted on the plan, but we didn't pay attention to it. So we shifted it. It's about 12 inches back into the area. We eliminated the two-way traffic. We're going to have northbound traffic on the rear of the parking lot only, not north-south traffic. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward. It's a designated area for storage. You guys does everybody have the plan in front of them? I don't know how to bring it up on the screen. I'm not sure. I'm new at this.
Yep, we have a plan.
I know I submitted paper copies, both half and full size.
If you're done, I will go to the commissioners if they have any questions. I'll start with Commissioner Zarelli.
My first question would be is why do you need this container? Because we usually don't like containers. That's probably why you were flagged by the town. I understand temporary storage, but why do you need this on a more permanent basis?
Why do I need storage for my personal use? I have businesses that I store equipment. I store files and filing cabinets, miscellaneous stuff that I own. I was either going to build it from the ground up or put mobile units that I can move if I need to. I do transport. I do have them on different properties throughout the state. I transport them. Sometimes I use them for construction as well. So I'll bring a container to a construction site. They're movable. So it's a nicer suit. They're solid containers. They're dry. They're heavy duty. They last. It's better than a Chevy wood structure that needs maintenance that rots. It's a good quality build. For heavy duty.
So this container has nothing to do. This container has nothing to do with the tenants in the plaza. It has everything to do with you owning the plaza and having to store equipment there.
It's my property, so I designated a piece of the rear that's basically not used. This is a pretty dead spot of the property. Along the rear. We still comply with all of our parking requirements. The calculation was done by my engineer, Jim Sakonchik.
I have no further questions.
Those are superfluous parking spaces. If we do need them for a future tenant, right now, our parking ratio is more than adequate. The newest tenant, which is a sublease on the Farmington Bank site, which is the People's Bank, is LabCorp. It's an in and out lab center. So if we ever do need it, this type of storage, I can move it. I can regain those parking spaces. If I were to put a footing and a foundation, a slab, and build a concrete structure there, like a 5-car garage or 4-car garage for storage, I'm sort of out of luck.
Any follow-up, Commissioner Zunani?
I have nothing further. I just wanted to confirm why a storage trailer was needed for the site. And I got my answer.
Thank you. Commissioner Drapeau.
Hi there. Is there going to be any water or electricity in this thing? I don't see any
No,
indication of that.
No, this is cold dry storage.
How will you enter and exit? From the front?
There's 2 doors in the front that are facing Cromwell Avenue.
Okay.
There's doors on each unit that are face outward.
And how about renderings? Any renderings of what it's going to look like? It's kind of facing the street, so.
No, it's not. It's in the rear parking. They're not facing the street at all.
Oh, it's not? Okay.
They're not visible.
I'm looking at it incorrectly then. Okay.
It's up. That's the back.
I have no further questions.
It's fully buffered with shrubs, trees, and fencing. Mature. We've been there for quite some time.
No further questions.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Glico.
My question is for staff. It shows it within the setbacks. Is that side and rear?
This is in the side and rear setback. They moved it out of they moved the area. And these are, just so the commission knows, these are the metal storage containers that you see like the back end of a truck. They're there on site now. There were 5 out there today when I went out there because they've been out there a while. It started as a zoning violation and it went into a zoning permit. There was a zoning permit signed by Dave Pomberg, my assistant. That is good through March 26th of this year. And we advised Mr. Mazzucato that he needed to come in for a site plan to get approval, that we could not approve this beyond that zoning permit. And without zoning approval, they would have to be removed. So, but what you're looking at is not a structure in that it is a building where you can walk into. These are 5 individual metal shipping containers that you see with doors on one end. Out there were 5 today. They're numbered 1 through 5. 3 of them have locks on them, 2 do not, as of this afternoon.
So Kim, my question was the fact that it's shown in the setback, is that allowed?
Accessory structures can be as close as 10 feet to a property boundary.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Morhos.
I'm trying to figure out exactly where these are located in the on the property.
They're located in the northeast corner, farthest away from the corner of the building, the corner of the property. So basically, if you're in the rear, in the furthest back corner of the property.
So, one of the reasons I'm concerned is that there's a residential property butting up against your parking lot.
Correct,
And,
yes.
So those would be visible to the people coming out of their condominiums.
We have mature shrubs and fencing around existing there. So they're hidden this and they're buffered.
Okay. And
There's a 30-foot buffer.
so these, what's going to be stored in there is totally has no relation to any of the tenants. None of the purpose of the tenants or the businesses that are in that property right now.
No.
This is just your extra storage from somewhere else?
My personal stuff, yeah.
Okay. Okay. I'm all set.
Thank you. Commissioner Robbins? Commissioner Robbins, did we, oh,
Just wanted to make sure we're not setting any precedents for, because even though it's being applied for now as permanent storage, that they are actually temporary storage containers being approved for a permanent basis. They don't have a lot of aesthetic appeal. It is good that there's shrubs and that visual buffer. But I'm just wondering, and again, this is a question for staff, are there criteria that should have been addressed specific to the application as far as compatible with surrounding land uses, things like that, only because five metal storage containers, it's starting to look,
Well,
There's actually a number of properties on Cromwell Avenue that have them in their side yards and their rear yards that don't have permission or don't have approvals.
yeah, right now, CVS has storage containers, but they also have an active building permit inside for.
I'm talking about there's body shops and mechanic shops and other facilities in the area that do have them as well.
Yep, and we'll go investigate those as well. This did start out as a zoning violation, as I indicated. My assistant Dave Pomberg had sent a letter of violation out because there was a sign that he saw about storage units for rent. And that's why the violation went out. But when asked about it, it wasn't for storage units for rent. It was actually, as Mr. Mazzucato said, it was for his own personal storage.
okay. So, anyways, I just raised that concern. And it is true that the other sites are doing it. It's just that it just seems like we're taking the concept of temporary storage, which could be approved under that basis, but approving it as permanent, and then it's but this isn't a allowable use, Kim, as far as the application's approved.
It's an allowable use only if the commission allows it. We deemed it to be a violation because of the sign, storage units for rent. Then it was deemed by Mr. Mazzucato to be for his personal storage. The only way that could get approved as such is if the commission approved it. We as staff are not approving it as a minor change.
And we're just approving the site plan. Would they come back for a special permit for?
No, they would not.
Okay. Those are my questions. I have no more.
We had our regulations were modified for these containers because we had issues with them in the past. If you recall, and I'm not saying anything that hasn't been on the record, we dealt many years with Walmart with storage containers such as these with respect to temporary storage for seasonal activities, the Christmas holiday season. where they would have a request for a certain number and they would kind of mushroom. We would issue violation letters, or they would come back on a yearly basis, but for temporary events. So our zoning regulations were revised. You are allowed these types of containers if there's a active building permit on the premises. You also are allowed for a period of time, and that was 60 days. So that's why we have a zoning permit that had been approved, and that's through March 26th. Outside of that, they need to come to the commission for a site plan. That's why Mr. Muscato is here. And that's up to the commission.
Okay, I have no further questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Brescia?
Hi, so I see that you're decreasing the footage in the back there from 24 feet to 20 feet to the next parking space with the storage container area. So my question is, in terms of emergency vehicle access back there, is that kind of tight?
No, that's adequate. It was engineered. 20 feet is
Okay.
good for one. That's good
I
for
mean,
one
it just
one-way
looks kind
lane.
of tight. It just looks kind of tight. And I would make sure that there's enough. You say you're going to have personal belongings in these storage containers. If anyone's ever fought a fire in a storage container, you want to make sure there's enough hydrants around, enough water supply, because that's truly an important safety feature. And I don't see any hydrants on this map.
I can go back to that regulation under section 4C2. That's the zoning permit regulations for business uses, temporary storage trailers or containers, and we consider this a container for up to 60 days in a calendar year when not associated with the building permit. So that's what the zoning permit was issued under that regulation.
Is a 4C2?
4C2 subsection 7. Further on down, permitted by site plan approval, that's with the commission under 4C3. Structures customarily accessory to a permitted use. So that's up to the commission to decide.
There's actually a hydrant that's very close to the property line on Copper Beach Drive. If you look at the Rocky Hill GIS mapping, it's clearly visible and marked. And there's also one in front of 396 Cromwell Avenue, just to the south of 366 Cromwell Avenue, in front of where the Asian Bistro used to be. To answer the question about the hydrants, I just pulled it up now.
Brescia, you have further questions?
No, I'm sure the fire marshal will take a look at that. I mean, it just seems tight back there in terms of a turning radius for emergency vehicles. But if you say that that's adequate, then I guess we'll find out.
Thank you. Yeah, I have a couple of questions and along the lines where other commissioners have asked. First, has fire marshal approved this application?
Fire marshal did ask, Fire marshal did ask basically that it be returned, wanting to know what was going to be stored in it. That was Mr. Mazzucato had answered that question. So no police concerns. no health concerns. Engineering department wants to make sure the containers are moved out of the drainage easement. I believe I have that same comment that Mr. Mozzicato referred to.
All right.
No changes to lighting. This is the building department. So,
Thank you. I think in our zoning regulation, we have requirement for zoning permit for this type of structures, and there is a reason why. And there's also, it's for temporary storage, not permanent. So I have a huge concern about these storage containers. And granted, there are other containers. That's not the reason for me, at least, I can't speak for the others, to look other way. And we will make sure that staff follows through on the others as well. But,
Other question, though.
but please, excuse me. My concern here is this should be, these are temporary structures, and that's how the approval should be. They should not be permanent. They should not be out there. What if there is extra parking space and the applicant wants to, surround the building with this type of storage because there is ample parking. So that is another concern that I have. So I think I would like, at least as far as I'm concerned, I like to stick to the zoning regulations that, we follow, and we require other applicants in the past and probably in the future to follow those regulations. So that's where I am. And aesthetics and long-term storage, those are all the concerns I have. Okay, go ahead.
My application is not for these specific units. My application is to designate a certain area of the rear of the parking for storage for these units or anything else that I put there. So it's not specific to these units. Am I correct in my application, Kim? That was written, it was drafted correctly? It's a storage area, container area, but it's not specifically for this specific unit. That's what I have there now. I want to designate this portion of the property to be identified on my site plan for the long term. Whether it's these containers there that I have there today, if I move them, I want to be able to place them back there again if I want to. If not, I don't. I want that area to be designated. That's what my application was for, not for these specific units. That's how my application was drafted.
the plan states storage container area.
Correct, the area. So I want to designate that area for storage container use, whether it's this type of container or any other type of storage container.
That's why you're here before the commission, to see if
Correct.
they will allow that, because right now, under our zoning regulations, storage containers are on a temporary basis. That's why you were granted the zoning permit for 60 days. And that's, the commission can approve anything as an accessory structure, and that's up to them. If you want to do a storage building, that would be a site plan.
That would be a site plan modification, and have to get a permit to build it.
Yeah.
So I want it to be a designated area for storage. That's my application.
I think what will happen is, as soon as you bring in, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kim, as soon as you bring a container one day, your 60 days starts. And you have, I think, how many, one or two 60-day periods in a year?
So it's one 60-day period, and there's a zoning permit applied for and approved.
Right.
So we have that going.
Right. So this cannot be used as at will to bring in and take out the containers, off and on. So,
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
I think we should get our questions out of the way, and then get a motion and a second, and then discuss the pros and cons of this.
All right, so I'm done with my questions. Any other commission members have any?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. getting back, first of all, getting back to the shrubbery, is the shrubbery owned by you or is it owned by the condominium
By us,
complex?
by,
Sorry?
Mazzucato family owns the fence and the shrubs along the rear property line.
Okay. And I guess my other questions, just to review them, I think they've been answered a couple of times. So this is intended to be permanent in temporary structures, and it's personal property, not anything related to the businesses on the property at all.
No, my own businesses.
Yeah, okay. I'm all set then.
All right, thank you. Anyone else?
I just have one more follow-up. According to the site plan, you're showing a storage container area, but you don't show screening. So if I'm sitting at the intersection of Cromwell Avenue and New Britain Avenue, I see that container plain as day. If I drive down the private drive of Copper Beach to take a left into the hamburger place, I see the container as plain as day. We talked about screening on the condominium side, but we never talked about screening on the side so no one on the street can see this. Is there any plan to screen this? Because in all of our regulations for any type of storage, we want screening. We can't see this thing from the street. So can you take me through that?
Yeah, there wasn't asked for, it wasn't requested, so we didn't put it on the plan. But we can put a set of bushes along the north side. We can put there's a 20, like I figure it's an 18-foot run, 6, 12, 18, 3. We can put 3 shrubs. That'll be a nice solid wall. 3 arborvitaes would be nice actually. We'll hold them 4 feet off every 6 feet. It'll give us a nice screen.
So if you screen that, now you're encroaching into that turn island there in the parking spots.
No, the screen would be.
I would have to. Well, the screening would have to be along Copper Beach, and it would also have to be along the backside of your property. So we don't. If I'm sitting at Cromwell Avenue, taking a right on. I'm sorry. If I'm sitting at New Britain Avenue at the intersection, taking a right onto Cromwell Avenue, I shouldn't be able to see this because it is actually a prominent intersection. And believe it or not, you have a nice prominent property on the intersection here. We wouldn't want a storage trailer in the back as a permanent fixture. So I'm just wondering how you would dress it up if you were to receive this. How would you dress it up so we would not see this?
I would plant a row of shrubs along the side wall there. That should look nice. But it would buffer really nice actually. That'd be a nice thing to do in the spring. It would dress up that corner as well. Not the shrubs that were there prior. We had some ugly shrubs that they took out. We have a nice row, a nice green arborvitae would look nice there. The fuller ones, not the skinny ones though. I would be receptive to that. That would be actually nice. So nice. It would be would dress up that corner nice.
I have no further questions.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Any other commissioner who would like to address? Hearing none, I would like to have a motion.
Hold on a second. I guess I'll make a motion. Motion to deny the site plan application of Mazzucato Family LLC proposing a storage trailer. I'm denying it on the basis of 4C2, number 7, clearly states that this is a temporary thing for a temporary storage. With all the things that came out in the meeting today, I believe.
Excuse me?
Actually, I need a second. You're right.
Yep.
Sorry.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No problem. You were right. I'm wrong. But you heard everything that I had to say. I don't know if I have to repeat it, but I believe we've went down this road a very long time in this town with temporary storage, and we went all the way to getting it into our regs for a 60-day building permit. I'm sorry, for a 60-day zoning permit. And we can't make it a transient thing. It'd be a whole different story if this was a more permanent structure in my book.
I second that.
Thank you.
I agree with Victor. This is defeating the whole purpose of the zoning regulations. And, we spent a lot of time on this and some of the other changes in our regulations, and I wouldn't want to see something like this contravene our regulations. And, there's a reason why it's a storage units are temp. And I wouldn't want to see it be there forever. And, and another thing is, if it was business related to the businesses on the property, I would be less inclined to be against it. But now you're taking personal property from somewhere, I don't know where, halfway across town or whatever, and putting it on this property in a temporary storage unit. I don't think that's anything that we really need to have there. Those are my comments.
Anyone else would like to comment? Hearing none, yeah, I agree. I think primarily it is because of 4C27. By allowing this proposal, it becomes a permanent storage. And, the zoning regulations do not allow that. So, that is my main concern. The other is aesthetics. We want to make sure that, aesthetics is being maintained, for the town. I mean, we went through and revised these regulations to address that particular aesthetic issue. So, we do not, so our town doesn't become like, hodgepodge of all different types of things, that people have to go through. So again, because of those section 4C27, I'm against this proposal. I would like to take a vote. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Right, going on to item 6, any other business? Yep.
With respect to zoning enforcement, we've had, as COVID has been going on, we're finding a lot more people when they work from home, we're getting a lot more complaints, some of which are frivolous in nature, and a lot of kind of the Hatfield-McCoy arguments we get, neighbors not getting along well. We first try to encourage people to talk to their neighbors, and then we do eventually intervene. We're finding a lot of rooster complaints coming back. People are staying home, wanting the fresh eggs, getting the roosters. And we're also now with people staying at home, we're getting a lot of noise complaints, whether they be in condominiums and or apartments. They start with us as staff. They may go to the police department also, and then we reach out and have to deal with property managers. So those are the types of complaints that we've been seeing. We did have some activity on the Straska property. The town is now in control of the Straska farm property proper. The house has been boarded up, and the town is looking for quotes, obtaining quotes as far as removal of the materials on that site, as well as the demolition of the structure. on the property across the street at 295 New Britain Avenue. A lot of the materials from the Straska Farm proper have gone across the street. Any of the farming type of equipment, the tractors, what have you, they are allowed to stay. The other items, because of the nature of the weather we've been experiencing, there has been a request through their legal counsel to have it be continued to through April 15th. And our legal counsel involved with this particular item has agreed. So we have kind of put a stay on the citations that have been issued, because there were citations issued for a variety of items across the street until and through April 15th for removing those items.
So was there any communication? I mean, I know you're doing the legal thing, but any communication from the owner across the street where Mr. Straska moved all the equipment?
That was through an attorney.
Okay.
Through an attorney to our town attorney. One of our town legal counsels, different than the North Carolina attorney, has been dealing with that since day one. And we have granted kind of like a stay through April 15th due to the heavy snow cover, and we'll be getting more tomorrow. So.
Okay, thanks. All right, item B, anything?
With respect to minor modifications, none as of this point. There was one approved today, but I'm still waiting for the Mylar to come in. So that will be reported on for next meeting.
All right, thank you. Now, I just want to go back to zoning enforcement. As we heard, there are containers on Route 3. So what I like to request is maybe, staff go out and see, what's happening around the town, so we can consistently apply the regulations.
I have made notes during the meeting, as a matter of fact, about per Reno Mazzucato, there are temporary storage containers on sites along Cromwell Avenue. I also mentioned New Britain Avenue because he may be referencing some with respect to the Straska property and or across the street, which we certainly are aware of. As I mentioned during that portion of the meeting, CVS, I know, does have containers, and that's associated with an active building permit. And any containers, people are allowed active or containers during an active building permit. So they are allowed as of right during that process. But I've asked, and I will ask Dave Pomberg to provide a list of what he finds and what the disposition is. For example, CVS, active building permit, the number of containers, when the permit was issued. If there's a violation, we'll note that also.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, and maybe require them to, come in front of zoning commission so we can review those applications consistently.
Yep,
thank you.
Correct.
Any communications?
John Mayer was issued a letter dated January 15th. I know we received it later. Tentative determination about their discharge permit into the waters of the state concerning DEEP. It's something they do typically every year. So.
All right. So just say notification.
I think that was.
Item 8, approve bills. I don't see we have any bills. No.
Motion to adjourn.
All right, second. Can I have a second? All right, all in favor? Aye, motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night. Be safe.
You
Good
too.
night.
I know.
Hi, everyone.
Good night.